Seated here now are M.I. Lasky, a member of the National Committee of the Communist Party Marxist-Leninist. With him is Esther Simmons, who is the manager of the Workers' International Bookstore, which is a Communist Party bookstore. Mike Lasky has been a union organizer and not long ago led a strike in Los Angeles in attempting to organize the car wash workers. At the end of 1965, he was a leading element in the founding conference of the reconstituted Communist Party. So we know a little bit more about Mr. Lasky than we do about Mr. Simmons. That being the case, let's begin with Mr. Simmons. Suppose you tell us how and why, if you will, that you became a communist.
I became a communist.
Turn the mic around just a little bit so it's directly in front of you. Just move it towards me a little bit.
About 6 months ago.
Will you turn the mic a little bit around? Just push it around. That's it. Fine. Go ahead. Don't glare at me. Just turn the mic and go ahead.
I became a communist 6 months ago. And I became a communist because I believe that it is only through building socialism and struggling for socialism in this country that the difficulties that the proletarian class, the working class in this country face can be resolved through one means, and that is through socialism, through communism.
In other words, your years of study brought you to that conclusion.
My years of study and my experience, my actual experience.
And your vast experience. How old are you?
I'm 22.
22.
I don't really see the humor in this situation.
I haven't begun, Mr. Lasky, to speak to you yet. I'm still speaking with Mr. Simmons.
Very good,
I have
Mr.
your
Pyne.
permission to continue.
Yes, you do.
Mr. Simmons, I take it then you consider yourself at least a scholar of communism.
I consider myself a Marxist-Leninist. I have studied communism. I am studying communism.
You're conversant with the Communist Manifesto.
Of course.
You understand dialectic materialism?
Yes, of course.
Would you explain to people watching what dialectic materialism is?
Dialectical materialism means the process of analysis of society and of nature, of science, through the study of change and development, through the process of things coming into being and going out of being, of ever-growing change and development from quantitative to qualitative change.
Now, don't you think that we have the same thing under capitalism? Don't we have change, evolution, and improvement and that kind of thing?
Well, if you call the oppression of the working class in this country change and improvement, and the ever-increasing oppression of the people around the world through imperialist wars of aggression and armed troops change and improvement, then I would say your conception of change and improvement is a little distorted.
Fine. You say that we're being oppressed. Then why is it that that cameraman there probably makes $300 a week, and I happen to know the Communist Party pays you $20 a week? Now, who's oppressed?
The point being...
Yes, what is the point being, as you say?
The question here is the capitalist relations in this society, and not the question of an individual cameraman making 5 times as much money as I might be making.
I bet I couldn't find one person out there under capitalism sitting in this audience tonight who makes as little money as you do under communism.
That is not the point.
Well, I think it's not a bad point since you said we're all oppressed.
Relations in this country are those of capitalist relations, the economic relations and the social relations, and that there are many working people in this country who are oppressed and they are being exploited by the capitalist class, and there are certain members and certain other persons in the working class who are bribed, who do make more money than other persons.
Well, I'll grant you that a lot of people under our program may picture themselves oppressed.
The United States, this government under this present form is exploiting people around the world and can afford to.
But you've already found the people's paradise. How come you're only getting 20 quid a week?
I would refer you to the declaration of our party if you have questions of this nature that shows very clearly that you don't understand the basic concept of communism. Mr. Lasky, your commissar? Mr. Lasky, Comrade Lasky,
I'm asking him a question, Mr. Lasky.
Comrade Lasky,
you'll find that we proceed in an orderly fashion.
I'm glad to hear that.
Comrade Lasky can speak for himself, and he can tell you his position in the party.
But he's very anxious that you don't speak for yourself.
Oh, I am speaking for myself.
Are you this man's commissar, Mr. Lasky?
Well, Mr. Pyne, you seem to be quite familiar with the subject of commissars. Perhaps you can explain what you're talking about.
Are you the head of his group, his cell, or whatever?
No, I'm not.
Who pays the salary? Who signs the paycheck?
This is a comrade, The paycheck is signed by Mr. Simmons. He signs his own paychecks, since he is the manager of the bookstore and he presides over the operation of the bookstore.
Who presides over the party, the Marxist-Leninist branch of the party?
There are a number of individuals in the leadership. I'm merely a representative of the leadership here tonight to expose and to bring our position forward as clearly as possible in relation to the Communist Party.
To whom does Mr. Simmons report?
Let me clearly
Does he report to you?
Deal with this particular matter. He is assigned to a specific section of the party where he undertakes the particular actions that he does. That's
you have anything to do with his
propaganda.
Job? Did you hire him?
No, I'm not responsible for that particular section of the party's
How
operation.
do you account for the fact that a party that's claiming that we're all oppressed as we live in this society?
No, we don't claim that we're all oppressed, and you certainly aren't, sir. And we would never claim that everyone in America is oppressed. There are exploiters. There are those that oppress. The majority of the people of this country are being deprived of the fruits of their labor. They are not receiving the full return for what they produce.
I think that covers Simmons pretty well.
They are participating in the exploitation of other peoples throughout the rest of the world. And they are... This is quite true. You may not agree. The question
May not agree. It's hogwash.
The question of...
Are you talking about the majority of the people?
A pure and simple declaration on your part that a matter is hogwash does not deal with the matter.
Okay, I want you to define.
I wish to deal with the question concisely and clearly.
What percentage of the American people are oppressed? Please define that for me.
The overwhelming majority of those people that must work for their living, those people that do not possess the means of production, that do not own factories, that do not own shops,
That's the majority of the people.
That is quite humorous. The majority of the people do not own the means of production.
I would say
they do not own the factories, they do not own the railroads, they do not own the production.
We're talking about those people sitting out there now in the audience, aren't we?
I would venture to say a majority of the people here probably are what you would characterize as petty bourgeois, There'd be a portion of them, I'm sure, that work and that have skilled jobs. But most people that are in your audience tonight probably are highly skilled workers,
and you
aristocracy
and
of labor.
Mr. Simmons are both unskilled, isn't that so?
Well, let's talk about Karl Marx. Was Karl Marx a worker? Certainly not.
Are you Karl Marx?
Karl Marx wasn't a worker. I'm not posing myself as Karl Marx or even trying to make the relation.
Then why did you equate yourself to Karl Marx?
You are trying to oversimplify the question. You're not trying to deal with the basic...
You're calling these people petty bourgeoisie because they have skills,
them,
and you don't have any skills, and your only hope is for somebody to elevate your mediocrity.
Do you wish to discuss Karl Marx? Do you wish to discuss...
You brought him up. I wasn't interested in him at all momentarily.
The question is this. Class is a determining factor in a number of matters. In the matter of one's politics and one's persuasion as to what is one's interest.
Now.
Karl Marx was a scholar. Will you grant that? Karl Marx was a man of great intellect. Karl Marx made a contribution to science. He was able to describe